Hello and welcome to AnesthesiaTOOLS. This is neuromuscular monitoring problem-based learning discussion. Problem-based learning means where learning meets the reality. So this is our topic. We'll dwell into the various aspects of neuromuscular monitoring in the light of our clinical experience. Okay. So some case reports or case scenarios we'll be discussing. Along with that, we'll go into the details of neuromuscular monitoring. So here is the first case scenario. A 50-year-old female, known case of intracranial space occupying lesion with seizures, hypertension, dyslipidemia, came for surgery. She is receiving phenytoin, levetiracetam, lacosamide after obtaining consent with standard ASA monitoring, pre-oxygenation done with 100% oxygen. Anesthesia was induced with the injection midazolam fentanyl, propofol 150 milligrams, and the injection atracurium 30 milligram was given as muscle relaxant. After 3 minutes, laryngoscopy was attempted, but the patient was noted to be coughing and moving. What happened here? And what could have prevented this? Here is a case scenario which appeared in the American Association of Nurse Anesthetists. The article describes two cases where abnormal butyryl cholinesterates, two case studies demonstrating the prevention of awareness from premature awakening with the use of quantitative neuromuscular blockade. So the case report goes on to say that in the first case, application of quantitative neuromuscular blockade monitoring could identify the residual neuromuscular blockade. The case goes like this. They have done a case laparoscopic appendicectomy. They have done the intubation with succinylcholine. Afterwards, there was no attempt, so they didn't supplement any other neuromuscular blocker. They are given antibiotics also as part of the protocol as the case deserved. But then the patient was not coming out of neuromuscular blocker. So they instituted the quantitative neuromuscular blockade. They found that trainer 4 stimulus initiated fade response, which actually indicates the conversion of phase 1 blockade to phase 2 blockade after succinylcholine throughout the observation period. Here we can see the video of supramaximal stimulation. We can see we gradually increase the intensity of stimulus. Diagrammatic representation. As we give neuromuscular blocking drug, suddenly the percentage of acetylcholine receptors blocked suddenly jumps, and beyond 75% occupancy, it becomes clinically evident. After some time, this level of occupancy of acetylcholine receptors come down over time with the metabolism of the neuromuscular blockers. And when it comes reasonably down, we can see the effect of the clinical recovery also, which we document using trainer for ratio in this case. Here you can see initially the trainer for ratio is 1, and after sufficient receptors are occupied, the trainer for ratio drastically falls down. This is an important diagram where you should know that not all muscles are getting neuromuscular blockade simultaneously, because some muscles are showing quicker onset. Say diaphragm, laryngeal muscles, our central group of muscles like sporgator supercilii, adductor pollicis, abdominal and big toe flexor muscles. Qualitative demonstration of the top response. You can see 4 responses. Okay, but the responses are progressively diminishing. The present day devices, we have quantitative TOF monitoring. Okay, in the picture, you can see In the exposed hand, you can see the electrodes for trainer for stimulation, and there is a mechanosensor between the thumb and the index finger, which will sense the mechanical response. And you can see on the top right corner, the responses are plotted graphically. So now it is very easy and more objective to say that there are four responses, and actually the monitor will also give you the top ratio as well. So here we can see a video of DBS. Now you can appreciate how much amplified is the response. Now we go to case scenario number 3. A 78-year-old male with symptoms of gastroesophageal reflux disease is also a known case of diabetes, hypertension with history of CVA, diagnosed to have diaphragmatic hernia. Now he is being taken up for a diaphragmatic hernia repair. Quantitative neuromuscular blockade or monitoring has been instituted. So, what are your immediate targets post intubation, and what are your objectives of monitoring during the diaphragmatic procedure? Now, reversal with Sugammadex has been trending these days because this is a binding molecule, especially for molecules, the rocuronium and vecuronium. So, immediate reversal can be attempted if you are giving Sugammadex at the dose of 16 milligrams per kg. Case scenario 5, neuromuscular monitoring, troubleshooting in delayed recovery. A word about use of neuromuscular blocking agents in ICU. If you look into the guidelines by the European Society, they clearly mention or recommend the use of ulnar nerve stimulation and quantitative neuromuscular monitoring at adductor pollicis muscle to exclude residual paralysis. ASA has also given practice parameters recommendations in their 2023 article. They recommend against clinical assessment alone to avoid residual neuromuscular blockade. All in all, we all need to understand the impact of neuromuscular monitoring. Okay, so I've tried to bring in some case-based scenarios, the practical scenarios, along with some problem-based analysis of our neuromuscular monitoring. So